Welcome back, everybody. This is Pucks from the Pine Tree Pod. My name is Benjamin Kennedy. Thank you so much for joining us today and for checking out the channel. Um, Getting through the summer here, we're now into early August and we're working our way through team previews. I believe this is our eighth installment of the team previews, so we're about a quarter of the way done. Um, and we're just inching ever so closely to more hockey, just a couple months away. So looking forward to it, guys. Today, we're going to dive into the Utah Hockey Club. Of course, the former Arizona Coyotes making that move to Salt Lake City this season. I think nothing but excitement about this club for the city, for the league. I think there's a lot of good to come here. So let's dive in. And actually, before we dive in, just so everybody knows, this is being pre recorded. You're probably watching this on either Wednesday or Thursday. I'm recording this on Sunday. Couple days of a work trip for myself, so want to make sure there was some content out there, something fresh and new for everybody out there listening and supporting the channel. So, of course, if anything changes roster wise or transaction wise over the next couple days, unfortunately, won't be on this video, but I'll be able to leave some comments down below if that happens. So, uh, talk about Utah here. We're going to talk about the head coach Andre Tourney. Think a well thought of coach. I know last season at this time there were some people predicting he might be a coach of the year candidate. Some people projecting Arizona to maybe play a little bit better than they did. But through 246 career games, he's got an 89, 131, and 26 record. That's good for 415 winning percentage. Um, I like him as a coach. He seems like he's a good communicator. Players seem to enjoy playing for him, and I think the fresh start here in Utah is going to be great for for him and for this team. So we'll see if he can improve on that record and improve from their standings from a year ago. Salary cap wise, they do have some space. They got about 9.92 million as of recording via Puckpedia. So plenty of room to make some moves, make some trades. Of course, over the years, they've kind of been that broker team in the league, taking back contracts, collecting draft picks, um, and even with all that, they still have almost 10 million left here to spend. So depending on how their season goes, could they keep playing broker, keep collecting draft picks, or do they actually go out and make a move potentially for the playoffs come the deadline? They'll have room to do that. So that'll be pretty exciting there. As of right now, they do have all 23 spots filled on their active roster. So they're in pretty good shape in that regard. When we go back to the first round of the draft this year, they did have two picks, picking Jerome Aginla's son, Tej Aginla. I think it's Tej. I think it's how you pronounce it. Exciting young centerman. Going to be fun to watch him, see him following his dad's footsteps. And they also pick up later in the draft Cole Bowden, another centerman. I know everybody's pronounced it Bowden or they don't know how to pronounce it. My mother's maiden name is Bowden, Bowden, but I do believe you pronounce this Bowden. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. If I'm wrong, yeah, please call me out. But so they had a nice first round there in the draft. I think picked up a couple really good young players to go along with what's already a really good young kind of growing roster right now. Going back to last season, and of course, guys, we all know that Utah's kind of being treated like an expansion team this year. So records and numbers and team logos, all that stuff stays behind. All that history stays behind in Arizona. This is really year one of a new franchise. But I do want to kind of look at what these players did a little bit from last year and how they performed. Last year they finished seventh in the division. They were 36, 41, and 5 for that 77 points. Of course, playing at the Mullet there at Arizona State. Um, it just, kind of underwhelmed. I thought some people kind of had them as like a dark horse last year, kind of maybe a wild card potential type of team, and it just didn't happen. And then, of course, the news breaks that they're moving, they're leaving town, and that's tough. I mean, it's I think a lot of excitement for Utah for moving up there, but we forget about all the other things that happen for these players. They have families and wives and kids in school and relationships. Maybe they're part of a church or part of a community groups out there, and you lose that. I mean, it's kind of like the price of admission to be a pro athlete, but it can be tough on them, and you really feel bad for those kind of ops people, that were working for the team down there in Arizona. That a lot of them just simply can't pack up and move to Utah. So that happens, and it had an impact on the club. It had an impact a little bit on the ice. It doesn't mean they were going to be a playoff team or something last season, but kind of a rough one, really, when you think about it. And you have to just, it kind of heart goes out, especially to those people that lost their jobs because of this. It's never a fun thing to talk about or see, but it is the reality of what happened here. We're not really going to talk about the team stats from a year ago again. That history all kind of stays down there in Arizona. So I'm not gonna waste our time to talk about all that. But I did want to just take a quick glance at their record and kind of where they sat um, last season there in the Central. Uh, Talking a little bit about the arena. Of course, they're moving into the Delta Center, home of the Utah Jazz. Smith family, of course, owning both clubs, and they are kind of retrofitting the arena a little bit. I think they're going to have around 17,000 seats available for hockey without really disrupting the basketball setup there for the Jazz. I'm going to post a link to an article written by Alexa Cabrera from the Utah News Dispatch. This is an article back in April where she kind of dives into this topic, dives into the arena and some of the changes being made there. There is some chatter about a new arena down the road, perhaps, but it does sound like the Smith family is taking the approach of doing some renovations first, kind of get the team in and set, then kind of see what the landscape looks like here over the next few seasons. So I think it's going to just be a wildly popular location. Is probably a little bit of a smaller market, but listen, the Utah Jazz have been nothing but successful there. You're talking about a winter city. I think it's just built for hockey. I think you have a built-in fan base. It's super excited for them to be there. I mean, you saw the just thousands of season tickets that they sold right away. I think they sold more season tickets than they actually had to offer. So it's kind of like when you go to the airport and you have your ticket and flight's sold out. Yeah, well, have a ticket. Yeah, well, there's no seats. Have a ticket. It's kind of like referencing back to the old Seinfeld episode with the rental car episode there. That just kind of comes to mind. Also showing my age a little bit. Um, just think it's going to be really popular. I think it's going to be really, really fun to uh, see hockey in that arena, see hockey in that city. They have their first home game will be October 8th against the Chicago Blackhawks. So there you go. You have an original six coming in, Connor Bedard coming in for game number one. Uh, Definitely going to have that on the TV that night. I'm assuming that will be a nationally televised game, at least here in the States. So it will be fun. Of course, we know they're going with the name Utah Hockey Club this year. They're waiting a year before they kind of pick logos and mascots and all that kind of stuff. We're hearing some of the favorites, of course. The Utah Yeti, Utah Mammoth is another really popular one. Other names like the Caribou, the Mountaineers, Outlaws, the Utah Freeze. So, yeah, some good choices in there. I'm kind of curious to see what kind of color scheme they go with. I am kind of hoping it's like a mixture of like a blue and a purple. And you wonder also how much it might line up with Utah Jazz. Do they have some sort of, kind of like in Pittsburgh, where all their teams are kind of black and gold. You wonder if Utah kind of doesn't do the same thing. But leave those comments down below. Do you have a favorite name that you'd like to see the team go with? What are you cheering for the pick there? Let us know down below. Core skaters, core team here that they have. We'll start with Clayton Keller, forward centerman. Played 78 games last season, had 33 goals, 43 assists for 76 points. Uh, just a star in this league. I don't think he gets nearly enough attention for the type of player he is, and I do think now in Utah he should get a little bit more recognition. The young Logan Cooley played 82 games last season, 20 goals, 24 assists, 44 points. You also have Nick Schmaltz there, forward, 79 games for him, 22 goals, 39 assists, 61 points. A couple more names just to mention here. You have Matthias Maselli, 82 games played for him, 17 goals, 40 assists, 57 points. Another one of those young rising stars there for Utah. And then Lawson Krause had a nice season for himself, 81 games, 23 goals, 19 assists for 42 points. Going down to their goaltending, really great performance throughout the year by Connor Ingram. Really a career year for him. Played in 50 total games, had a 23-21-3 record with a 2.91 goals against, a 907 save percentage. Like I said, career year seemed to really become more stable, and really hoping he can do that again and grow on that season. Backup Karel Vamelka played in 38 games for them, 13, 19, and 2 record, 3.35 goals against, and an 897 save percentage. And some of that, of course, Ingram had a nice year for himself. Melka struggled a little bit. Defensively, this team really struggled. So we'll talk about some of their defensive changes coming up, but you could see some improved goaltender numbers just simply by some of the defensemen they brought in this season. Speaking to that, who did they bring in this season? Start with probably one of the surprises of the offseason, but Mikhail Sergachev comes over from Tampa. In that, I believe it was a trade between the two clubs, kind of a cap clearing situation there for Tampa as they were trying to get Jake Gensel signed up. But Sergachev moves off of Tampa, comes over to really be one of the, I'd say, the team leaders there for Utah. They also had John Marino, defenseman from New Jersey. Ian Cole comes over, veteran Ian Cole. So right there, they kind of knock it out of the park with three kind of veteran type defensemen. And they also add Stanley Cup winner forward Kevin Stenlund to this group to kind of be a fourth line type forward for them, fresh off winning that cup down in Florida. Going out the door, we have forward Travis Boyd, defenseman Joshua Brown, and I do have to correct a mistake from my LA Kings video where I mentioned JJ Mosier out the door. I just got that wrong. I had him on the wrong sheet, but JJ Mosier played in Arizona. He's moved on. So if you did watch my LA video, that was a little boo boo on my part. So, um, what's the deal with this team this year? Where do they go? Where do they end up? I do like the forward group. I like the youth. I like kind of actually the depth that they have there. And I think, if you're not paying attention, it doesn't look like they're a super deep team, but there's more depth here than it would appear, after first glance. I count about 8 or 9 players at least that have 20 goal potential on this team. That's pretty good depth. I think most teams would sign up for that. Again, they're young, they're rising stars in this league. And I think there's a lot of potential in that group if they can keep them together. Defensively, guys, we know this was a little bit of a teardown situation. Um, really didn't have many defensemen signed by the end of the year. We just talked about Sergachev, Marino, Kolo coming in. And I do love that Sergachev addition. I think that he really will stabilize things on that blue line and it'll just be that good veteran presence you need. For Marino, kind of had a tough year in New Jersey. I think this is a good fresh start for him. We all know there with the Devils, Dougie Hamilton goes down and that defensive unit struggled. And I think there was a lot more put on Marino last season than maybe he would otherwise, you know, be able to handle. And I just think the move out to Utah gives him a chance to reset and hopefully he'll bounce back. And then, of course, that veteran presence in Ian Cole. Um, been in the league a long time. I think he'll just be a good, solid, defensive defenseman to be part of this group too. So, kind of like what they did there. Much like with a lot of teams, though, you do wonder about overall depth on the blue line. Organizationally, do they have enough depth? Are they going to be able to sustain, missed games and injuries, things of that nature? We can talk about that with a lot of teams, but that could be, a spot with given the money they have available, $9+ million. Maybe that's the position that they try to fill, even more so as we go through the season, as we get to the trade deadline. That will be a little bit interesting to watch. Talking about goaltending, we just mentioned, of course, Ingram having a really stable year, career year for him. You wonder if he can build off of that moving forward. Obviously, the team is going to need him to be that 1A goaltender for them. And goalies are so tough, right? I mean, year to year, we just don't know who's going to be good and who's not going to be good. It seems like it's a very volatile position. And so for Ingram, you just hope this is a building block year and that he can just build off this and get better. As the team around him gets better, hopefully he becomes more confident and continues to put up, better numbers and increased numbers each season. But we'll see what happens there. There's no question, though, that the Central Division is just loaded this year, absolutely loaded. You've got Colorado, you got Dallas, you got that Nashville group that really improved, and Winnipeg is no slouch. They're not going away either. That's four right there before you get to Utah. So I'm really not sure if they can crack the top three this season, and I do feel like their best playoff chances will really lie in that wild card race. And I do believe they can hang around that race. I do. I think they'll be good enough to stay in that conversation, especially again if goaltending can hold up for them as we go. Um, I also feel like, guys, this team is under zero pressure to win this season. You know, fans, I think, are just going to be excited to have hockey in town. They're going to support this team. And I don't think there's going to be a lot of pressure or stress about we have to make the playoffs this season. I mean, of course, if you're close and you're in the mix, you go for it. You've got the cap space to do it. But I'm also not going to mortgage a lot of my future to do it either. I'm not trading any of these young pieces, away. They're just from one year and one run. Um, but I think they could kind of hang around that conversation. But I think regardless of whether they make the playoffs this year or not, I do think they're on an upward trajectory. I think playoffs in the next couple seasons should be an expectation. Um, so a lot of things to be excited about, and it'll be really fun to see them this year. I would love to go to Utah when Boston goes out there for their one trip, but not sure that's going to happen this year for me. But eventually, that'd be high on my list of places to go to see a hockey game. So, guys, that's what we have today for Utah. Like I said, I've got the got Bengal Forest up here and Gollum. I'm not really sure where to put them. Right? Are they in the woods? Are they in the playoff mix? Maybe they can get out of the woods, or are they going to be hanging out with Gollum in the caves and missing the playoffs this year? I don't know. I guess if I had to pick right now, I would say they're probably missing the playoffs. They're probably hanging out with Gollum, but we will see. So again, that's what we have for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for all the support. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't done so already. And until next time, be kind, show love, and God bless.